You're too emotionally safe, too loyal, and too predictable for someone like me, she whispered during our anniversary trip before walking away toward another man at the hotel bar. I quietly packed my bags and left early. Months later, she sent a paragraph apology after seeing my engagement photos shared across her friend group's Instagram stories. You're too emotionally safe. She said it softly, like it was a confession instead of an insult. Like she was doing me a favor by finally saying it out loud. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I just stood there at the edge of the hotel bar, holding a glass of whiskey I hadn't touched in 20 minutes, watching her lean toward a man she'd introduced to me 45 minutes earlier as just someone from work. His hand was near her wrist. She didn't move away from it. Too loyal, she continued. Too predictable. She said it the way someone cancels a subscription. Casual. Final. Already decided. I remember the bartender glancing up at me, just for a second, then back down at the glass he was polishing. I remember thinking, even he felt that. And I remember the exact weight of the silence between us. Not because I was about to say something devastating. Not because I was planning a response. But because some part of me, somewhere deep and quiet, already knew. This wasn't a conversation. This was a closing statement. I didn't realize it then, but that moment changed everything. Not just for her. For me. If you enjoy real stories like this, subscribe, because what happened next changed everything for me. I should tell you who we were before I tell you who we became. Lorraine and I had been together for 3 years. 3 years of shared leases, inside jokes, Sunday mornings, and the kind of comfort that people post about online like it's the goal. She was 31. I was 33. We lived in a 2-bedroom in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, close enough to the city to feel alive, far enough to feel like home. From the outside, we looked like the couple everyone assumed would be fine. Stable jobs, good friends, real history. Looking back, I think that's exactly what scared her. The trip was her idea. A weekend in Montauk to celebrate 3 years together. She'd booked the hotel herself. A small boutique place right on the water, white walls, wooden floors, the kind of place that makes everything feel more meaningful than it actually is. I remember being excited about it. I remember thinking this might be the trip I'd finally bring up the future. Rings. Moving. The next chapter. I had a whole quiet plan building in the back of my mind. I should have paid more attention to what was building in the back of hers. We drove out on a Friday evening. 2 hours in the car. She spent most of it on her phone. I didn't say anything. She'd been doing that more lately. Disappearing into the screen mid-conversation, mid-dinner, mid-everything. I told myself it was work stress. I told myself it was temporary. At the time, I ignored it. When we checked in, the woman at the front desk smiled at both of us and said, "Anniversary stay?" Lorraine looked at me instead of answering. Not the look of someone happy to be there. The look of someone calculating. I said yes for both of us. The first evening was fine on the surface. We walked the beach. We got dinner at a place near the water. She ordered wine she barely touched. She laughed at the right moments. But there was a distance in her that I couldn't close. Every time I tried to reach across it, a question, a hand, a joke, she'd smile the way you smile at a stranger who held the door for you. Polite, momentary, gone. You okay? I asked at some point during dinner. I'm fine, she said. I just have a lot on my mind. I nodded. I let it go. That wasn't even the first strange thing she'd said that night. After dinner, she suggested we go to the hotel bar. I didn't think much of it. The bar was a nice space, low lighting, a few couples, some people who looked like weekend regulars. We found 2 seats near the end. That's when I noticed him. He was already there. Tall, easy laugh. The kind of guy who takes up space comfortably. Lorraine spotted him the second we walked in. I noticed that. I filed it. "Oh my God," she said. "That's Marcus. From the Barker account. I didn't know he'd be here." She said it quickly. Too quickly. Like she'd rehearsed the surprise. He waved. She waved back. Then she looked at me. "Is it okay if we say hi?" I said sure. That was my first mistake. Not the last one I made that night. Marcus was charming the way certain men are. Not aggressive. Not obvious. Just effortlessly present. He laughed at everything Lorraine said. He told stories with his hands. He ordered a round for the 3 of us without making it feel transactional. I watched the whole thing. Quietly. The way you watch something unfold that you can't quite name yet. Lorraine laughed differently with him. Not louder, lighter. Like something she'd been holding for months suddenly had room to breathe. Looking back, that should have warned me. At the time, I told myself I was being insecure. I told myself this was just social. I told myself that the man I was watching touch my girlfriend's wrist was just being friendly. I told myself a lot of things that night. None of them held up. It was maybe 40 minutes later when she said it. Marcus had stepped away briefly. Phone call, bathroom, I don't remember. And Lorraine turned to me. Not with guilt. Not with apology. With something quieter than that. Something that had clearly been waiting. I've been thinking a lot lately, she started. I waited. About us. I set down my glass. You're everything that's supposed to be good, she said. You're stable. You're kind. You're consistent. She paused. Like she was trying to find a gentle way to say something that had no gentle version. But I feel like I'm watching my life happen from a distance. Like everything is just safe. Too safe. Safe, I repeated. You're too emotionally safe, she said. Too loyal. Too predictable. That's not what I need right now. The bartender glanced up. Then back down. I sat very still. You're saying that on our anniversary, I said. I know, she said. I'm sorry. But it's been sitting inside me for a long time, and I didn't know how to. That's when Marcus came back. And she turned away from me to greet him. Like the conversation was over. Like she'd already moved past it. Like I wasn't still sitting right there. I stayed at the bar for exactly 11 more minutes. I counted. Not because I was making a point, but because I genuinely didn't know what to do with my body. I watched her laugh. I watched his hand move closer. I watched her let it. And somewhere in those 11 minutes, something shifted in me. Not dramatically. Not with a wave of emotion or a spike of rage. Just a quiet click. Like a door closing softly somewhere inside a house you're already leaving. I finished my drink. I set the glass down evenly. I said, I'm going to head up. She turned. Already? Yeah, I said. Long drive. I'm tired. She nodded. She didn't follow. I went upstairs. I sat on the edge of the bed for a while. The room was nice. Sea breeze coming through the window. White sheets. A bottle of champagne we'd never opened sitting in a bucket of melted ice. I looked at it for a long time. Then I picked up my phone. I didn't text anyone. I didn't call anyone. I didn't post anything. I just sat there and thought very clearly about who I was in that room and who I wanted to be by morning. Then I opened the hotel app and checked the checkout options. Early departure was available. No penalty. I packed quietly. Not in a rush. Not in anger. Just methodically. Everything that was mine went back into the bag. I left everything that wasn't. I left the champagne. I left it on the nightstand. Sealed. Then I walked downstairs, settled the bill at the front desk, and drove back to Brooklyn alone at 1:17 in the morning. She texted at 2:40 a.m. Where did you go? I read it. I didn't respond. She texted again at 3:15. Are you serious right now? Then at 7:22 a.m. Can we please talk about this like adults? I put the phone face down. Not because I was playing a game. Because I genuinely had nothing to say yet. And I'd learned a long time ago that silence isn't always avoidance. Sometimes it's the only honest response to something that has no honest explanation. I moved through the next few days carefully. I went to work. I went to the gym. I cooked my own meals. I called Jerome, one of my oldest friends, and told him what happened. Not the full version. Just enough. She said that on your anniversary, he said. While turning toward another man, I added. Jerome was quiet for a moment. And you just left? Packed up and drove home. Another pause. Damn, he said quietly. Okay. That was enough for me. Jerome didn't overcomplicate things. He never did. Lorraine called twice the following Tuesday. I didn't answer. She sent a long text on Wednesday. 14 sentences. Mostly questions. Why won't you respond? Are you punishing me? Is this how you handle conflict? I thought you were mature. I didn't say what I said to hurt you. You never let me finish. I read it twice. I noticed she didn't say she was sorry. I noticed she asked what I was doing, not how I was feeling. I put the phone back down. Our mutual friends started reaching out a week in. First it was Bridget, Lorraine's closest friend from college. Hey, I heard things are weird between you two. She's really upset. Can you just talk to her? I kept it short. We both need some space right now. Bridget replied immediately. She's saying you just disappeared without explanation. I didn't respond to that one. Because the explanation was left in a sealed envelope on a hotel nightstand in Montauk. If Lorraine wanted to understand what happened, she knew where I'd left it. Then Desmond texted. Desmond ran in both our circles, had known Lorraine since before I'd met her, and had known me for almost 2 years. He was careful with his words. Yo, I'm not getting in the middle of this. But I heard some things. You good? Yeah, I said. I'm fine. Okay, he said. For what it's worth, you handled it right. I appreciated that more than I said. 6 weeks passed. Lorraine had stopped texting daily. She'd moved to occasional, a photo we'd taken together posted on her stories with no caption. A voice message I never opened. Hey, with no follow-up. I noticed the pattern. She was checking to see if I was watching. I stopped watching. I removed her from my close friends list quietly. I didn't make an announcement. I didn't post anything about what happened. No vague lyrics. No breakup quotes. No signals. Just absence. And I know that drove her crazy. Because the one thing she hadn't prepared for was indifference. She'd prepared for anger. She'd prepared for the kind of heartbreak that texts at 2 a.m. and begs to be taken back. She hadn't prepared for quiet. During those 6 weeks, I threw myself into things I'd been putting off. I started running again, real miles, early mornings, before the city woke up. I took on a freelance contract that had been sitting in my email for 3 months. I cleaned out the apartment slowly, not frantically, not as performance, just making space. Jerome and I started a standing Friday night thing. Poker with him, Randall, and Keith. Nothing profound. Just 4 men, bad beer, and an ongoing argument about whether Randall actually knows how to play or is just consistently lucky. He's consistently lucky. Those Fridays mattered more than I can explain. It was at one of those Fridays, about 2 months in, that Jerome mentioned Joanna. She's coming to Cynthia's thing next week, he said. You should come. What kind of thing? A rooftop thing. Low-key. Cynthia's doing a birthday. I almost said no out of habit. She asked about you. Actually, Jerome added. Who did? Joanna. I looked at him. She knows who you are, he said. Seen you around a few times. She's good people. Smart. She works in architecture. Come to the thing. I went to the thing. Joanna was not what I expected. Not because she was impressive. She was. But because she was calm in a way I hadn't been around in a while. She didn't perform. She didn't try to be interesting. She just was. We talked for maybe an hour on that rooftop. About the city. About buildings. About the difference between spaces that feel designed and spaces that feel discovered. She had this way of listening where she didn't fill silences. She just let them sit. I hadn't realized how much I needed that. We exchanged numbers at the end of the night. I texted her 2 days later. She responded immediately. No games. No waiting. Just, I was hoping you'd reach out. Simple. Direct. Real. We started slowly. Coffee first. Then a walk through the West Village. Then dinner. Nothing forced. No timeline pressure. No emotional negotiations. Just 2 people being honest about what they wanted and moving carefully toward it. She knew something had ended recently for me. I told her enough without performing the pain. She didn't push. She didn't compete. She just showed up consistently. And I noticed that. I noticed it every time. About 3 months after Montauk, Desmond called me. Have you heard from Lorraine lately? He asked. No, I said. Why? He paused. Things didn't work out with that Marcus guy? From what I heard. I didn't say anything. She's been not great, he said carefully. I'm not asking you to do anything. Just thought you should know. I appreciate that, I said. You doing okay though? He asked. Yeah, I said. Actually, I am. There was a short silence. Good, he said. That's good to hear. I found out through Bridget, who told Cynthia, who told Jerome, who told me, that Lorraine had started reaching back through our mutual social circles. Quietly at first. Asking how I was. Whether I was seeing someone. Whether I ever mentioned her. The answers she kept getting back were, fine, maybe, no. And fine, apparently, was the worst word she could hear. Because fine meant I wasn't fighting for her. Fine meant I wasn't sitting in the ruins. Fine meant the version of me she'd dismissed, the emotionally safe, loyal, predictable version, had found a way to just keep going. Without her. Without drama. Without once publicly falling apart. I heard she didn't take it well. I heard she started posting more travel, more social events, more carefully curated evidence of a life she was clearly trying to convince someone was working. I know who she was trying to convince. Joanna and I had been seeing each other for about 4 months when things started to feel like something real. We spent a Saturday in the Catskills. Her idea, a client had a property up there she needed to look at. I drove. She navigated. We argued mildly about music for the first hour. She won. I didn't mind. By the time we got up there, the sky was doing that late afternoon thing where everything turns amber and still, and she stood at the edge of a field looking out at the tree line, and I remember thinking, oh, this is what it's supposed to feel like. Not chaotic, not urgent, not a constant emotional negotiation. Just steady, like something that fits the shape of your life without forcing it. I told Jerome about it that Friday. You got that look, he said. What look? The look you had before Lorraine, when you were actually happy. I laughed. Don't overthink it, he said. Just don't mess it up. Randall, shuffling cards across the table, didn't even look up. He's not going to mess it up, he said. Look at him. Keith raised his beer. Nobody made a big deal of it. That's exactly how I needed it. 6 months after Montauk, I asked Joanna a question over dinner. Not with a speech. Not with a performance. I had the ring. I'd been carrying it for 2 weeks, waiting for a moment that felt right instead of staged. We were at a place in the West Village. Small, no occasion, just a Tuesday. She was in the middle of a sentence about a project she was working on. I interrupted. Can I ask you something? She stopped. Looked at me. Yeah, she said. I reached into my jacket. She saw the box before I opened it. Her hand went to her mouth. I don't want to wait, I said. I don't need a big moment. I just need to know if you want this. She said yes before I finished the sentence. We kept it quiet at first. Just close people. Jerome knew. Randall and Keith knew. Cynthia threw a small dinner. No announcements. No countdown posts. No public declarations. Just people who mattered, in a room that mattered, sharing something real. Joanna posted one photo, eventually. Not a production. Just us at the dinner table, rings visible, both laughing at something off camera. She tagged me. She tagged the location. That was it. I didn't think about who might see it. I should have. Not because it would have changed anything, but because I would have been better prepared for what came after. It was a Wednesday night. 10:47 p.m. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't open it. But something made me. Hi. I know you probably didn't expect to hear from me. I've been sitting here for an hour trying to figure out how to start this, and I don't know how, so I'm just going to say it. I saw the photos tonight. Cynthia's friend reposted them, and they ended up in my stories feed. I've been staring at my phone ever since. I don't even know what I'm feeling right now, but I know I owe you something I never gave you properly, and that's an apology. A real one. I read it once. I set the phone down. I picked it up again. You were never the problem. I need you to know that. You were patient and kind, and you made me feel safe, and I punished you for it, because I confused safety with smallness, and I was wrong. I thought I needed something bigger than what we had. I thought I needed something unpredictable and electric, and I convinced myself that meant something was missing in you when the truth is nothing was missing. I was the one who was broken. I was the one chasing something that never existed. And I know I don't get to say this now. I know it's too late. I know you've moved on, and that she looks like someone who actually deserves you. But I needed to say it anyway. Because I've spent 6 months watching myself make choices I thought would fill something, and they haven't. Nothing has. And tonight I saw your face in those photos, and you looked happy. Actually happy. The kind of happy I used to take for granted when it was mine. I made a mistake. You deserve better. I thought I had more time. I read the whole thing. Twice. Then I put the phone face down on the nightstand. And I lay in the dark for a while. Not with grief. Not with satisfaction. Not with the anger I might have expected. Just with stillness. Joanna was asleep beside me. Her breathing was even. Her hair was across the pillow. There was nothing about the moment that wasn't exactly right. And I realized, lying there, that I didn't feel what I might have once felt reading those words. Not closure exactly. Not victory. Just a kind of quiet finality. Like watching a door close on a room you used to live in. You remember the room. You don't want to go back. I showed the message to Jerome the next day. Not for his reaction. Just because he was the person I trusted most with things like this. He read it slowly. Didn't say anything for a while. You going to respond? He finally asked. I don't think so, I said. He nodded. Yeah, he said. I wouldn't either. He handed the phone back. She finally figured out what she had, he said. Took seeing it on someone else's wall. He paused. That's on her. I sat with the message for a few more days. Not obsessing. Just letting it settle into the right place in my mind. I'd be lying if I said part of it didn't land. 3 years is 3 years. You don't just erase that. But landing isn't the same as maturing. And maturing isn't the same as changing anything. I thought about what Lorraine said in that hotel bar. Too emotionally safe. Too loyal. Too predictable. I turned those words over for a long time. Not to disprove them. Not because they still stung. But because I wanted to understand what she actually meant. And what I eventually understood was this. She wasn't wrong about what I was. She was wrong about what it meant. She looked at stability and saw stagnation. She looked at loyalty and saw obligation. She looked at peace and felt suffocated by it. Not because peace is bad, but because something in her had been trained to need the friction, the chase, the instability that keeps you constantly reaching, the kind of relationship that never fully settles because settling, to her, felt like dying. That wasn't my failure. That was her addiction. And no amount of chaos I could have manufactured would have fixed what was broken in that. Desmond called me a few weeks later. She reached out to me, he said, asked about you. I figured she might. I didn't tell her anything, he said. Just that you were well and engaged and happy. That's all there is to tell, I said. She didn't take that well, he said carefully. I imagine not. A pause. She asked if you'd read her message. Tell her I did, I said. And that's all, I said. Just that I did. He was quiet for a moment. Okay, he said. I thought about responding to Lorraine exactly once more. Not because I owed her anything, but because there was a version of me, the one who'd sat in that hotel room with sealed envelopes and melted ice, who deserved to say something. I wrote it out. Long version. Then I deleted it. Wrote it shorter. Then deleted that too. Eventually, I narrowed it down to 6 words. I read them back to myself. They felt right. I didn't send them. Because they weren't for her. They were just true. And truth doesn't need delivery. The engagement party was a Saturday night in late fall. Joanna wore something simple. She looked exactly like herself, which, I'd learned, was the thing she did best. No performance. No presentation. Just her, in a room full of people who actually knew us, celebrating something that had been built carefully and honestly. Jerome gave a toast that made me laugh so hard I almost choked. Randall cried a little. He denied it immediately. Keith took the photo that ended up being the one we kept. Both of us mid-laugh, not looking at the camera. Real. I got a final message from Lorraine a month later. One line. I'm happy for you. I mean that. I read it. I believed it. I believed she was also saying it because she needed to say it. Not for me. For herself. That's okay. I hope she finds what she's actually looking for. Not the chaos she confused for feeling, but something real. Something that holds. Something that lets her exhale. I genuinely hope that. But that hope lives at a distance now. It has to. There's a specific version of a man that some people don't know what to do with. Not because he's boring. Not because he's without depth. But because he doesn't come with emergency exits. He doesn't create crises to solve. He doesn't manufacture drama to prove he's alive. He just shows up. Consistently. Quietly. Every time. Some people find that suffocating. Some people find that terrifying. Some people look at that kind of love and think, where's the edge? Where's the cliff? Where's the part where I get to feel something violent? I was that man. I still am. I don't apologize for it anymore. Joanna and I moved into a place in Fort Greene 6 weeks before the wedding. Top floor. Big windows. She designed the layout. I built the shelves. It took 3 weekends and 2 arguments about level readings, and it was the most at home I'd felt in years. We have a coffee ritual in the morning now. No phones until after the first cup. It was her rule. It's become mine too. Small thing. Real thing. I think about that hotel room sometimes. Not often. But sometimes. The sealed envelope. The unopened champagne. The anniversary itinerary left behind on the desk. I think about the man who sat on the edge of that bed at 1 a.m. and made a decision not with anger or speed, but with a kind of slow, quiet certainty. He didn't know what was coming. He didn't know about Joanna. He didn't know about Fort Greene, or the shelves, or the morning ritual, or the Friday nights, or the ring, or any of it. He just knew that something had been named clearly that night, and that the honest response to that naming was not argument, was not begging, was not performance, was just to leave, quietly, with everything that was his. Lorraine wanted chaos. She thought she'd find it in someone who made her feel alive in the sharp, dangerous way that only unstable things can. Maybe she did. For a while. I hope she finds something steadier. I hope whatever she was looking for either gives her peace or teaches her what peace actually costs. But I'm not holding the door open for that story anymore. That chapter closed at 1:17 a.m. on a Friday in Montauk. I just didn't feel it shut until months later. Standing in a kitchen in Fort Greene. Coffee in hand. Her voice from the other room. The morning quiet. The ordinary miracle of a life that actually fits. She wanted chaos. I chose peace. And peace, it turns out, was the most radical thing I ever did.